Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel, Lydia Lost the Plot. Today is the day, people. The winner of the Booker Prize is being announced. Now, I was quite, ambitious that I would read all of the shortlist. There is only one book that I didn't get to, and I will talk about that first, because I feel like it would be remiss of me to act like I'd read it or to give an opinion on it when I haven't yet read it. I'm just about to start it. But that is The Safekeep by Yael van der Wouden, because I just didn't get time. Of course, you know, we make plans and God laughs. So I'm hoping that I will be able to get to this and that it's not one because I would have no opinion. I'd have none. But what I'm going to do today for you to celebrate the Booker Prize being announced is to talk about the 5 books of the shortlist that I did get to read. Now, I'm going to talk about them in order of preference. So I'm going to go with what was my least favourite, and then we will hopefully end on what I think is my favourite, and then I'll also predict which one I think will win and whether or not they're the same, which, you know, knowing me, probably not. I'm terrible at guessing. But the first book that I'm going to talk about is Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. Now, it's a pretty bonkers book. It's very irreverent. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It knows what it's doing. It's very clever. And it's essentially about a woman who is a sort of freelance, sort of undercover spy thing. I'm still not quite sure what she was, but she's sort of like ex-MI6, CIA, whatever, kind of person, and she goes to France to start tailing somebody, and it's just about her sort of delving into his life, his thoughts, his feelings, and then her trying to manipulate a group of people into doing something criminal. Now, there are parts of it that will laugh out loud funny, and I literally, like, there's some bits that I was really, really laughing. The irreverence of it is brilliant. It's very adult humour. It's very sort of clever, cerebral humour, and I like it. I thought it was well written, but it just didn't do much for me, if I'm honest. There was a sort of a lack of substance to it. There wasn't any kind of driving force in the narrative. I didn't really care for the protagonist, and not in a, oh, isn't it cool that they're intentionally unlikable. It was sort of like, I just don't like her. I just didn't like her as a person. Just sort of so it wasn't the best. I found it a bit of a slog. I think this is why I didn't quite finish the shortlist, because I read this bang in the middle of the reading, and it took me like a whole week to get through it. And usually, you know, a book of this size, it would only take me maybe 3 or 4 days, if that, depending on my schedule. So it was just sort of, I just couldn't finish. I was like, come on. And it's quite repetitive. It was, I don't know, it just didn't have that spark for me, and it didn't keep me involved in the way that I wanted it to. It's good, it's not great, and I really hope it doesn't win, just because I do think it's the weakest of the lot. Not to say that any book that gets to the Booker Prize shortlist can be that bad, because, you know, a lot of people have read it and liked it. The next book that I would like to rate, there's like a smudge, just getting rid of a smudge, is Anne Michael's Held. Now, I really enjoyed this book. It was beautiful in a lot of places, and I thought that the concept of it was phenomenal. Essentially, it's just about a guy dealing with grief and PTSD, and he becomes a photographer and starts taking photos, and in the photos, ghosts appear. And it's, you know, it's a really cool concept. I struggled with the narrative. It wasn't very linear, and not that that's always a bad thing, but I felt like we lost track of, well, I lost track of where we were up to and whereabouts in time we were quite a few times, and it just drew me out of it because it's told in these beautiful little vignettes. And so, you know, each paragraph so beautifully written, but then you're like, where am I? Where are we up to? Where are we now? So the situational awareness of it was kind of a little bit hard to follow. I do think that this is a really good book. I've enjoyed it. I'm seeing that it's selling like hotcakes at work. I work in a bookstore, and I do think that part of that is the fact that it's available in paperback and not all of the shortlist is, so it's a cheaper price point. But I do also think that there's a lot about it that people like. I also feel like the cover gives off like Christmassy, wintry vibes, and that's kind of helping sales. I did enjoy it, and I do think a lot of people will enjoy it. It's not a bad book by any means, and I think that there's something about Anne Michaels' writing, particularly when she touches on grief and loss, that I think is phenomenal. I just don't think that we were quite zoned in enough on that subject for it to fully work for me. I think that that there's this beautiful sense of longing and beautiful writing all the way through, but it was just a bit of a struggle to keep up with it and to keep connected to the protagonist and to keep connected to what was going on in the story, because, you know, it spans quite a bit of time. And it would have benefited from a little bit more of a linear approach, because I think that would have been a really cool concept. But overall, enjoyed it, love this, and I would read Anne Michaels again, actually. That I would. Rachel Kushner, maybe not. The next book that I am going to talk about is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. Now, I thought it was cracking. Really enjoyed the concept. So the concept is, it's basically a bunch of astronauts in space, and they're just thinking about life. And that might sound to some people a little bit dry and dull, but to me, that's like catnip. I love a little bit of existentialism in a void of an environment. And Orbital does that very well. Now, people have criticised Orbital because it is very repetitive in places, and it is. But I think that is fully intentional, and I think that if you go with it and you just go with the flow, then you will understand why. And I thought that slight monotony in terms of the language, in terms of the repetition of language, I thought that was really good, because that's what it's like when you're stuck in a metal tube in the middle of bloody nowhere. You know, there is a monotony to it, and there is this cyclical thoughts that go on, and I think that it all it does is confirm this environment and confirm the experience of the people there. There's a wonderful scene about someone's mother that I won't give away because it's just phenomenal, and I really did enjoy it. It was in places a little bit slow. I think it could have done with a cracking bit more pace just to kind of keep you going. There was also a secondary slight narrative plot point that was about another spacecraft, and I think that should have either been left away or embellished. But I'm talking like I know anything, but you know, from all the books I've written. However, I did really enjoy Orbital. I enjoyed it. If you're a fan of films like Gravity, Sunshine, that kind of like in the middle of nowhere, and thinking about life films, then I think you'd really enjoy this book. It is also Diddy, like look how short it is. It's teeny tiny. So it is nice, and it is quite uplifting as well. So It's not too depressing, which is probably why I didn't like it that much. Now we get to the top 2. So remember that we've set aside the Safekeep because I didn't get around to it. I blame Rachel Kushner. Let's all blame Rachel Kushner. Nobody like snapshot that and then send it to her, please, God. However, the last 2 books I read I'm going to talk about for the Book Prize shortlist are, you'll have guessed already, are James by Percival Everett and Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. Now, picking between these 2 is like picking between my children. However, it was quite easy. And the first book I'll talk about is James because it's phenomenal. Yes, it took me since, when was this out? February? April, my lord. It's took me 6.5 months to read this book. I've probably had it for longer, actually. And I've put it off and put it off and put it off because I thought I would have to be like an expert on Huckleberry Finn. I thought that it was going to be really literary and maybe a bit too over my head. Oh, no. It's great. Everything that everyone has said is correct when they say it's brilliant. And I've not really got much to add to it, to be honest, because everybody's been banging on about this book for months. And for some reason, I didn't go with it. I don't know why, because it's so phenomenal. It's beautiful. Percival Everett is a genius. And the way that he switches the narrative onto its head, and we hear about James, and we hear about the whole... It's like this... I don't know, he just uses the concept in such an inventive and exciting way, and you go on this adventure with him and my heart was in my mouth. I felt sick, I felt stressed, I felt love, I felt astonishment. There's a little thing at the end that I was like, what? It was just so good, compelling, enthralling, exciting, and I just think that if you were like me and you were a bit like, I have to read Huckleberry Finn and I have to know everything about this, just forget it. Go into it, read it. By the first couple of chapters, you'll be hooked. Oh, hooked like Huck Finn. I'm funny. She's funny. However, you will be, and it won't let you go. This was phenomenal and I loved every page. It was truly, truly exquisite, and I do believe that it will win the Booker Prize. I've said it! This is my prediction for the winner. However, my winner, which, let's face it, is probably the most important opinion going, forget the Booker Prize. It is Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. Out of all of the books on the shortlist that I got to, barring the Safekeep, this just absolutely blew me away. It was phenomenal, beautiful and compelling. It's a story about a woman who essentially just leaves her life behind to go and live in this I want to say convent, but it's not really. I think it's got a different name. Doesn't say, but anyway, she goes to live in this like small religious community in the Australian outback, and she goes to basically to get away from life and to escape, and she's not really religious and she's just there because she's just there. And the whole book explores that concept of self-isolation and self-reflection, about a conscious contact with God, about atheism, about relationships with women, about your relationship with yourself. And it's just so good. And there's this little narrative that runs through it about this woman, this old nun, and they found her bones, the skeleton in the middle of nowhere, and about them returning the bones to the convent. And it's just like brilliant. It has that balance of sort of, it's almost written like diary entries, and so has this balance of this self-reflection, and then there's also this slight unreliable narrator vibe, but then all the way through it, it's kind of got this I can't even describe it. It's an atmosphere, it's tangible, and it's undescribable. I really can't put it into words what it feels like, but I think you need to pick up this book. I can't tell you enough. It's so good, and I've looked at the sales because I'm a nerd, for the Booker Prize shortlist, and this is the least selling out of all of them, and I think it's the best. And it's just so brilliantly written. I am a fan of Charlotte Wood anyway. I think she writes women like no other person is writing women at the moment. But it's also, I think it's a novel that just absorbs you. It just keeps you completely entranced from start to finish. It's wonderfully written. It's a great concept, and it's brilliantly executed. So I can't really urge you enough to read it. If that's not convinced you, I don't know what will. But yes, my winner for the Booker Prize 2024 would be Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. Now, I do think that this will win. The only book that I would be really disappointed to see win would be Creation Lake. However, I understand that Rachel Kushner is very popular and that she has a lot to say. But still. So I hope you've enjoyed my little predictions video. I'm hoping that I can do some sort of a reaction video to the winner, a little short one for you. If you'd like that, please comment down below, and please comment down below who your winner is, because I want to know if anyone else is a Stoneyard Devotional like me, or if there are some of you who are bonkers enough to have understood Creation Lake. But if you have your opinion, please do leave it down below. I would love to know which one you would like to see win and which one was your favourite. So with all that said, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm very excited about this announcement. Thank you so much for being here and watching me. I really do appreciate your time. And if you like this video, then please subscribe. It really helps, and I love the fact that we're building such a wonderful community here. So with all that said, I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.